I knew I needed help. I didn't know what that looked like. And I'm like, I just need something. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll book a psychologist appointment. They'll fix me. So booked that, went, trauma dumped and overshared for probably about an hour. And then next day got an email saying, hey, we're not the right fit for you. You can't come back here. You have to find someone else. Here we are, episode 1 of Spill the Tea. We've spoken about this for so long. We're here in Bali.
We are.
We've just dropped Harley off at school.
Yeah, it was a hectic morning.
We are traveling currently everywhere.
That's it.
We're sitting here with our first episode of a podcast we've spoken about for a very, very long time.
Almost 2 years.
Yes, and what we're learning is done's better than perfect, right?
That is it. And get comfortable being uncomfortable, because right now we are feeling uncomfortable and we teach our clients to step out of the zone, and here we are, walking the walk.
Yeah, so one thing, yeah, how are you feeling right now about this?
Well, how are you feeling, Beau?
Or how are you feeling? So, yeah, I came in this morning and, you know, you get excited about something like this and then we get nervous and then we're like, fuck. But then we always go back to like, what do we tell our clients? You know, we got people in our online program called We Breathe Success that are now, you know, we've just started this a week ago and we've got people coming in saying like how far they've moved through things and started businesses already. So super crazy what happens when you have support and guidance and people backing you and clapping when you succeed, right?
That's right.
And that's why we build that community.
But how are you feeling?
I'm excited, but I'm feeling nervous. Like obviously stepping in here, never done this before.
100%.
You've got all the cameras, all the lights, there's pressure. You got to pick Harvey up from school at a certain time. But you know, how many times have we had that conversation on the phone where we're like, fuck, write that down. It needs to go on the podcast, right?
That's it. And then you get in the podcast studio and you're like, shit, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we've got notes, but we're going to free flow. We're going to be authentic as fuck on here. That's what this is about.
100%.
So this episode is called Who the Fuck Are We?
That's right. Who the fuck are we? So we're going to start with Beau. So who the fuck is Beau Jory? So some of you guys, he's the most controversial guy there. You either love him or hate him. I really don't think there's really any in between here. So some of you guys may know him from his Snapchat days. I remember those days. A lot of yous do. Or some of you guys may know him from the sex shop when he was doing crazy things with big dildos. And or if you're probably tuning into this episode, you probably know him as the Breathwork guru. So who the fuck is Beau Jory really?
Who the fuck is Beau Jory? Well, that is something I'm constantly working out and diving into. And I think it's important to constantly grow. I find, you know, like we say in our online program, the people like, it's okay to change. A lot of people come to us feeling stuck or lost or like, I'm in this career and I want to be here. And I'm like, how often do I come to you? I'm like, I don't like the way I'm dressing anymore. I'm going to completely change. Like 100%. You'll see me on social media and I'm in basketball jerseys and oversized tees. And then next week I got button-on shirts on, you know, and it's like, it's okay. Like to
and
do
rocking
that.
Gucci.
And rocking Gucci. Yeah. Yes. So like, and I find also with you, like some weeks you want to get your nails done and your hair done, and then other weeks you just want to be natural and you don't want anything on you. So like, I feel like it's okay to change. Like we're constantly trying to work out who we are, right?
100%.
It's like, I think you said the other day, Steve Bartlett said that it's all about finding your passion and your purpose. Like that's bullshit, right? Yeah. It's about finding what makes you happy, and what made you happy last week or what served you is going to fucking constantly change. So as you change and grow, and also what you're influenced by. So like living in Bali, I meet a lot of people traveling alone, and I think that's where you find yourself the most. I always say to people like, go away, go on a plane, go away from your influences, right? Your best friends, your direct family members, you know, people around you in your career. Once you step away from that, then you start to be more authentic because you're hanging around people that you don't give a fuck about judgment from.
100%. So what have you overcome in your life? So let's go back right from the beginning.
All right. So majorly for me is...
Where were you born?
Where was I born? I was born in Perth, Western Australia. Fremantle. A lot of people were aware of Fremantle. Great place. Loved it. Grew up there. I grew up in sort of like, you know, they weren't great areas, but it wasn't super bad. But we had a really nice house. My parents worked hard, which is my default setting, right? You got to work hard for money.
Yes.
You got to save money. That was my default setting.
Yeah.
By the age of 2, I was diagnosed heavily with ADHD and forced medication down my throat. Am I angry at my parents for that? No, but 33 years ago, 30 years ago, I should say, your child is misbehaving at school or having some sort of issues. You want the best for them. So you take them to the doctor. A guy in a white coat says he's got this condition and he needs this medication. So what do? You do what's right for you. It's also frustrating for the parents. It's also frustrating for the teachers and probably distracting for other children, stuff like that. I've got a lot to say on ADHD, which we will go into in another podcast, which most people come to me because they resonate with my story. But yeah, going through childhood, through primary school, I had to move school because of behavioural stuff. I was surrounded by kids that would either, stir you up, or teachers didn't understand me or get me. I was just disruptive or distractive. And, teachers would say things like, you're just a naughty kid, or other kids would be like, the naughty kid. And I guess I become this like villain at school. Like everyone just expected me just to be the fuck up, right? So... And that comes into adulthood too, right? When you're getting in trouble, I mean, you have a fight, or the way you revert back to that child, and you're like, you feel like you're in trouble or you're not good enough and sort of stuff like that. So moving through that, hated my medication. Everyone around me knew straight away if I wasn't on it. I reckon I was overly, heavily, way too medicated.
Mm-hmm.
It zombified me, didn't eat, hated the way it made me feel. Had no emotion, just blank, and I believe I suppressed a lot and then lost. I believe that I was robbed of my childhood because of the medication. And,
Sure.
It even got to a point where I was on sleeping meds, and I couldn't sleep without medication. I remember going and staying at my friends' houses and I forgot my medication, or like if I was older and it was my responsibility and I had to ring my parents or get their parents to drop me off. And it's like embarrassing, and I always got called the crazy kid. So that was like, that's hard because you take that on into adult life, right? In your workspaces and how that makes you feel. And then as soon as I hit high school, as soon as I had the absolute chance to ditch medication, I was like, yeah, I'm out. So kids at school wanted to buy it. I didn't understand it. So I used to sell my meds to other kids.
You're like, take the meds.
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't want it.
Take it. Give me your lunch money.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand why, because I knew the way it made me feel, and I'm like, why would you want to feel like that? But apparently, with the chemical imbalance in the brain, it gave them a high where it gave me that low and that sort of calm feel. But I do remember being on meds at school and just wanting to hyper focus on work. And I don't bag meds at all. I always say this, I've got a lot of clients with ADHD and they come to me and they're like, ADHD medication saved my life. Like if I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be. So I'm like,
sure,
that's cool. We all got our thing. I don't bag anything. I believe everyone should try different things and see what works for you. And not always, nothing should be like long-term though. I don't believe you just go on ADHD medication from a child and then that's your entire life, because who are you without that medication when you're not on that? And this is like a key point in my life. I remember going to my mum. I'm going to get emotional talking about this. Wow. But I remember going to my mum at I would have been probably like 9 years old maybe. And I said to my mum, how am I going to ever learn to control my own behavior when I have medication do it for me?
100%.
And for me, that was like, I remember telling that to other parents at the school, they're like, oh, because their kids were getting diagnosed. And you see it now, like every kid's fucking on that ADHD medication. We had
so sad.
Your son, Noah.
Yeah.
My stepson, he had a birthday party and...
Yeah, he had a birthday party and I was at Bounce with all of his friends,
like
and there was 8 kids and they were all on medication and I couldn't believe it. And I had a really good conversation with a couple of them and they said, it's hard because I'm at school. Even like now, if I'm acting out or whatever, they're like, have you taken your medication? So that was their thing back. And I couldn't believe that so many kids were on medication without even like trying to get to the core of the issues. And, to have all of those kids there and, 8 of them be on medication and my son wasn't on medication, it was just mind blowing for me.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, like, I sit there and think like when I was in high school and primary school, there wasn't many kids on medication. It was just like one or two. And I get there's more research and there's more things, you know, neurodivergent people versus, you know, people with ADHD and autism, and, you know, there's different spectrums and all that sort of stuff. So, but I also am a high believer that a lot of ADHD symptoms come from an unregulated nervous system.
100%.
Stress, anxiety, whether that's childhood trauma or the environments they're living in. You know, your nervous system's in fight or flight mode.
100%. Not being understood, not being heard, not being seen, not being loved.
Exactly. So acting out. Also, we learn at a young age that when we feel pain, emotional pain, that we try and distract ourselves
100%.
with the toys, with
chocolate,
butterfly, this, or TV, because just like us scrolling on our phones, that's easier than feeling the pain, right?
100%. Well, you're like, you know, we've got Harvey, and Harvey hurts himself. We're like, hey, take him outside, distract him, like, you know, with what's going on outside, or give him food, like, hey, do you want ice cream? Do you want chocolate? Yeah, stuff like that. And we're really trying to.
And we do that as an adult.
Yeah, we do that as an adult.
What happens when you have sometimes? Well, not so much now, but I remember.
I'll sit there and eat a tub of ice cream. I want
why?
chocolate. Just trying to feel good, just trying to get that like dopamine feeling, you know,
exactly.
and you know, and the chocolate does make me feel good.
And what do we tell our clients? You must feel to heal.
And you know, and it is. It's discomfort, you know, but we know this. We know that when we go through this, you know, and I can talk on this side of things fucking forever because,
of course,
you know, there's so much to say on that. But yeah, 100%.
And what I say to all my clients going through that, might not be ADHD, it might be anxiety or depression or whatever. I'm like, well, let's talk about backtracking the things that have happened. And they're like, no, I don't want to talk about that. But I'm like, my outlook on this is, I've always said that you must feel the storm and feel the weather, the thunder, the lightning and the rain to then experience the sunshine. And if you're
also to appreciate the sunshine.
And also to appreciate.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly running from this weather and this storm, it's just constantly going to follow you. It needs your body, your nervous system needs to feel it.
Needs to process it, release it, regulate it.
That's right. I was literally talking to in our We Breathe Success program yesterday on our Zoom session, that there's some horrible things that happen to someone. And I said, if I wanted to move through those pillars of trauma, I would slowly take them back to the environment that trauma had happened in, and do breath work with them and let them talk a little bit about what's going on. And they're going to feel really uncomfortable. They're going to be like, I want to leave. Like, this is too much. Obviously, when their body's feeling unsafe, then you have to retract, but it's you know, the more you go back to that same situation, the more you talk about it, the more you feel it, the more you write it down, the more you're aware of your feelings that are coming up and let them pass through your nervous system. Then you feel safe and go back to the situation. It's like women that have been hurt by men, they can't get back in relationships, or they've got all these walls up,
or they take all the baggage to the next relationship, to the next one, to the next one,
they've got all these insecurities
100%.
or something. And then the same as, like, I have a lot of clients that have been in car accidents and they can't move forward in life, whether that's with a business or it's just procrastination or self-sabotaging in their life, because they're not really living their life to their full potential because they have these blocks.
They never process the emotion.
They never process. So for them, even thinking about getting in a car, the nervous system starts to activate sympathetically, right? They start to sweat.
And it's designed to keep you safe. Like, that's what it's for, you know?
I say it's designed to keep you safe, but it will make you self-sabotage in a
100%.
real life modern society, because there's not a tiger in front of you that's trying to kill you.
100%.
Yes, the car can kill you and is dangerous, but that's you know, it's like someone who's scared of flying. They're not, and I hate flying, but I get on that plane and I push through that anxiety and that nervous system and I breathe, because there's on the other side an opportunity 100%. To travel to another place or have that car to get you to certain places, or, you know, or your friends are going out and you're like, no, I'm going to stay home.
New possibilities, new opportunities.
100%. So, you know, we have to slowly get back in that car and slowly drive, and then, you know, you don't put someone in the car and fly them down the freeway. It's going to re-traumatize them. The nervous system's going to freak out.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to who the fuck is Beau Drury. And we are going to go on tangents because we both have ADHD. And our ADHD,
exactly right, yeah.
Our actual ADHD personality is matched, because I have totally different. I have the hyperactivity, and you have the hyperfocus, and we are.
That's why I work really well and do a lot of hours.
And that's why I get distracted and don't work.
That's exactly right.
You have to get on my case all the time.
100%. So how old were you when you stopped medication then? Like, tell us about that.
About 15. And then...
how did you get off it?
I was spitting it out at school. And, you know, it's weird to think back to, like, you know, your kids, their age now. You know, like I was at school and getting told by adults that I had to put this stuff into my body, you know.
Crazy.
And another thing is, like, it was really cool because I grew up, my mum I wasn't allowed sugar, I wasn't allowed lollies, Cokes, nothing like that. So I am blessed for that because I didn't eat shit.
Yeah.
And another thing that I think of these days is you feel these kids full of like Fruit Loops and high sugar products and shit that shouldn't be in our bodies, and then send them off to school and then their behaviour's affected and they're like, okay, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, let's put them on meds.
So, you know, there's that. We're going to do let's do an ADHD podcast,
Yeah.
but moving forward to who the fuck are we? Yes. So yeah, 15, mum couldn't control me anymore, pretty much. I was like, I'm not taking it. Like I didn't want to, I remember running to the back of the couch and spitting them out and then getting another one put in my mouth and chewing it and spitting it out and then getting in trouble. Like, and I'm like this human being that doesn't want this in my body. And it's like people that you love
I like dragging you, but it's like they're coming from a place of love, but it's
coming
like
from a place of love, but it's also very
want.
traumatizing, which brings me to why I don't touch drugs.
100%.
Anyone of my friends or sort of stuff, like I tried weed, that was hectic. Didn't really like it, didn't like being out of control. And you know,
I just think you don't like feeling anything that you're not in control of because you were drugged from a very, very young age to
Drugged is
15.
Word,
you know, like it's true though.
Yeah, and my parents obviously just wanted like
the best for
me, and they wanted me to fucking chill the fuck out. Like I'm talking, like I used to like jump on the roof. Like my parents can get me, I'd be on the roof.
From the roof into the pool. 3 years old, jumping.
I think
crazy.
when I was around about 3 or 4 years old, I went around and smashed like nearly every window in our house.
Yeah, like,
because my behavior was out of
insane.
control. My parents didn't know what to do with me.
And they also, you know, they listened to doctors. That was the generation where you did listen. The doctor was right.
Yeah, I remember being about 7 or 8, and I had this psychologist come over with like a tape player, and they're like recording me and stuff, and I'm on the couch, and we're talking about stuff, and then I just lost it, and I went up and smashed a window, like just smashed the lounge room window, picked up something off the table or a rock from outside, I can't remember, and smashed it. And then my mum's like, I'm so sorry. Like she's embarrassed, she's frustrated, she's trying to get me help. She doesn't know what the fuck to do.
And I feel sad, like, because obviously, like, you were like, I've got little Harvey, and little Harvey's like a little Beau, you know. And so for me, like, it makes me quite emotional because, like, I think about Harvey and, like, I would just want to, like, pick him up and hug him and be like.
And my mum didn't have the tools passed down by her parents, so her love language is totally different. And sometimes our love languages don't match. So what we need and what we're trying to give, we're trying to parent like our inner child wanted to be parented, 100%. Which can sometimes skip a generation, and we actually need the opposite parenting. So instead of in punishment, love, or instead of love, more discipline, right? Like, so for me, smashing shit around the house. Schools couldn't handle me. I'm in the office constantly. So yeah, got to about 15. I tried weed, didn't like that. Got into, you know, my friends are doing pills, and like, you know, as we got older, I had friends get into like fucking crack or cocaine and gear or meth, whatever you want to call it, from whatever country or whatever slang you use. And that was hectic. I watched a lot of lives get fucked up, so that was like an instant put off for me. But I reckon I was naive to drug taking too. Like, you know, even you would say, you know, that person's on drugs. I'm like, nah.
I could see it a mile away.
They're not on drugs. Like, I'm really like, my reality is like, I just paint my own reality because I've done that from a young child to make my life better, right?
100%.
So
which there's another podcast.
That's
on that
another
alone.
podcast. Like false sense of reality,
sense of reality,
which I think comes with those ADHD symptoms too. Like, you're trying to create your own reality or distract yourself from reality because you're so unhappy inside.
100%.
And I was just an angry kid, man. Like, I just wanted to smash everything, break everything. Like, we'd go out with friends and we'd be like 9 and 10, and I'd be like, let's smash all the windows at the back of this shopping centre.
I think you just wanted a hug.
I wanted attention.
You wanted attention.
Just wanted a hug.
Like, I think that's what it is. Like, I generally think that, you know, you just wanted love, and you know, and we could, you know, we're skipping a few things here, but I think like when we got into our relationship, which we'll go into soon, like, you know, like once someone showed you true love is when you ultimately changed in life.
And all I got was punishment and all sorts of, like, my mum, her love language is definitely acts of service. Like, she'll do anything for anyone. She's a beautiful heart. And, but she is, you know, her mum and dad, different, loving. You know, her dad was alcoholic. My parents drink a lot as well. They love to drink. And, you know, it's like what you want as a child is also you don't really know because you just think you want to play toys and stay up late and eat shit food and blah, blah, blah. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, your parents are actually trying to help you,
100%.
which is why I respect my dad a lot.
100%
because,
Dave. I think you got a lot of morals from Dave.
Like, I fucking hated him as growing up, like rules and this and that. And then,
Now you get it.
Now I get it. And like now I get a lot of my hard work ethics and stuff from my dad. And I remember when I used to get expelled or withdrawn from school, he'd make me go to work with him. And I'll be there on school holidays. I had to go to work and I'm like pushing barrows and learn. And now I go look back and I appreciate it.
Tell them what you did when you went to work one time with them on the lawn.
Yeah.
If
Dad's listening to this is probably not funny, but it's funny now, I guess. I went to work. My daddy owns a landscaping business, hard as worker.
Had lots of properties with real estate.
Yeah, had lots of
clients.
and high paying clients. And he's one of his biggest clients. It's like a massive set of flats. So like huge. He was the groundskeeper there, and he had like heaps of other contracts. And he made me go around and spray all the weeds. I don't know whether I was expelled from school that day or it was school holidays or the weekend and mum had something on. I don't know. But I used to go to work with my dad very young. And I had the poison. He goes, see all these weeds in the cracks of the grass? You got to spray all the weeds. And I went into the middle of the grass and wrote CUNT as big as I could. And I thought nothing of it. And then, about a few days later, my dad burst into my room.
Wait, when the grass starts to die?
My dad's like, get in the fucking car right now. And I was like, what?
You're like,
what's wrong?
What have I done?
I don't know what I've done. And he's like, I'm like, I don't. He drove me straight to the thing. And I think we had to dig it out or something. But it was brown. It was all green and brown, CUNT. And he knew straight away, like, I'd done that. And I was like, my thing is, like, you look back to that child and it's like, maybe I wanted attention, and that's the only way I knew how to get it was to do that. I think and then my parents would.
I think you had love. Your love identity was when you were bad. You felt love when you were insanely in trouble.
Well,
when you were doing the naughty shit.
Kids don't want to be in trouble, right?
No.
And kids don't want to be out of control. Kids want to be regulated, safe, loved.
Kids just want to be loved. That's it. So heard and seen.
For me, I'm like, I look back and I'm like, I drew it. Dad got a brand new car. I went to work with him. I drew an X with a knife.
Could you imagine if one of our sons did that?
Oh, I'd go off.
Oh, and my God. Beau goes off over the most craziest small shit. Yeah. So I can't even imagine.
I find myself, and this is like this is putting a mirror up, which we all have to do, which we do with our
projection.
Clients
we teach this.
We do things as human beings that we hate being done to others, or we get jealous about people of things that we actually want, or we're like, oh, that person, they're fucking fat or whatever, and you're like, you want to look like them, or like whatever, psychological projection, right? Which is what we talk about all the time.
Into your life, then this is for you. Are you ready to fuck off procrastination? Then this is for you. You need more sales in your business? This is for you. Do you want to feel more successful and confident? Then this is for you.
Hey, I'm Beau.
Hey, I'm Kirsty Waddingham.
And welcome to Believe in Your Breath,
where we breathe success. If you want to work with us further, you want to join We Breathe Success. It is designed to take you from where you are.
Just reaching out and wanting that love and just connection. And I guess I got that through being a little shit.
100%.
So continue that through life, hanging out with kids, like I said, smashing windows at the back of shopping centres, eventually getting in trouble with the police. I remember being with my mate Stephen. We were at a bus stop, and I'm just at a bus stop with a friend. I started ripping all these bricks and all these signs. There was letters of like the estate on the side of the wall, and I'm just ripping these metal things out and throwing them. A cop car came around, stopped, said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I must have been like, I don't know, like around 17 or something at the time. And they just chucked me in the back of the paddy wagon. And I'm like fucking just angry as shit. My friend's at the bus stop, he's got weed on him. So he's like fucking pissed off at me because he's like, they left him there and he was freaking out. He's like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, and so they take me to my mum's work and my mum just said, just take him to the police station. We've had enough. Like we just can't handle him anymore. So,
and she's doing that out of love. Like she's just like, fuck, I'm just hoping this is going to scare the shit out of them. So then he stops this, and it's difficult. Like, you know, we even know when Harvey's just a little bit, and he's amazing.
And
he's
he
an
triggers
amazing
me
child,
because of
and he
my own stuff.
triggers you. Yeah. So where do you think, like, you know, after you got off the medication, and then, you know, you started hanging out with some people, and then
I started hanging out with people who wanted to break into schools and fucking steal, and like, you know, I stole a tractor one time and did some fucking stupid things with that.
so
and
you did some naughty shit.
I'm not going to say anything to incriminate. First podcast gets locked up. You know,
where do you
just
think-
stupid, petty shit, really. You know, and
where do you
breaking
think this
shit.
led you to, like, in a relationship? Like,
Well, hanging out with like bad people and like scary people was like, I looked up to that, right? Like people doing like the wrong thing, like getting away from nerds and being with people who wanted to break shit and shit, also steal, and you know, obviously met a friend that changed the path for me. He had a really good like family structure, and like I hung out with him, and it got me away from the kind of place I was going. His name was Lockie, and I reckon if I didn't meet Lockie, that I would definitely be in jail
100%.
or fucking eventually got on drugs, because the people I was hanging around then, the day I met him, it was like I was actually hanging out with certain friends, met Lockie on a particular day, and we were both fighting with our friends who knew each other, and we said, fuck these guys, let's walk this way. So we walked all the way
wait,
through.
are we best friends now?
Yeah, like we walked all the way through Kublai, and then I went home and I opened the door, and like Lockie always laughs about this, but I opened the door, I was like, hey, mum and dad, I got a new friend, his name's Lockie. And like my family were fighting, like, come on, come on in. Like we had a heated pool, like we had a nice house, so like, you know, and Lockie come in, and like he ended up being, we're still mates today, you know. So like it's crazy, but
he was the really good influence in your life.
yeah, and you know, Lockie was like, he had morals, and he was like, I don't smash shit, and I don't steal from the shop. My dad will kick my ass. So that was like really cool to see, even though I get my ass kicked as well. But I like
you know, but you're at a time in your life where you learn more from your peers now, not
that's
your parents.
right. Yeah,
you know,
exactly right.
So who you're around, especially at that age, and especially as adults as well.
And
you know,
Lockie's
they influence
parents
you.
gave him money. He didn't have to steal.
He didn't have to steal.
He didn't have to fucking like, you know, he didn't have to break shit. And Lockie didn't like that lifestyle. So I was like, okay, this is cool. And Lockie's dad and family are like, you know, high up in what they do. And, you know, there's like a whole nother world of people that I met that I'll get into later. But, you know, I respected these sort of people. So moving into that, hanging out with those sort of people, you know, I started hanging around people in gangs and bike members, friends and family and stuff are sort of involved. I'm not directly involved. I'm not hanging out riding with them, but you know, I'm going to parties and I'm seeing a lot of this stuff, and you know, got into a relationship with a girl. Had about
Thanks
18,
for clarifying that. It was a girl.
definitely a girl, guys. 18 years old. I reckon I associated sex with love for a little bit, for a lot of a bit.
Still, I think.
Yeah, and for me, you know, sex was like, this was love that made me feel wanted and made me feel like good and like up here, you know. So I felt that from women, and then soon as sex came into my life, I was like, this is it. This is the missing piece. This is like love, and like, you know, there was some addiction there, and you know, then you start to get introduced to porn and toys, which leads me into my later on life. But got with this girl. It was toxic from the get-go. Mm-hmm. She was older than me, a lot of fun. So I'm like, okay, this is, you know, I'd only been with young girls, and she was an older girl. So I was like, this is cool, you know?
Yeah.
We're doing all the crazy things, and we got into that, and from the get-go it was toxic. Like there was lies from her end, you know. I just wanted love. I wanted to settle down and have a family, and I don't think she was ready for that. And I do believe it was a trauma bond, definitely. Mm-hmm. Didn't work that out for about 10 years. So on and off. First two years were pretty solid. Then some shit went down. And after that, we pretty much split. She got with someone else and had a baby. And then I didn't see her for like 2 years. And then she come back into my life fully pregnant. And I was miserable. I was miserable for 2 years, I'll be honest. I was having sex. I was drinking. I was partying. I was traveling. I was hanging out with all sorts of different people, gang members.
And so unhappy.
Bikies and unhappy. And then I got into, I grew up really doing labor work, hard work, because that's all I knew. And then after that, I got into a friend was opening up like strippers and had strippers, and then he wanted to compliment this adult shop and he was fighting with the chick. So I went in there, took everything off the walls, like did it, all my ADHD hyper focus. I set up the adult shop. I helped him and I felt proud of that. And I felt really proud being in the adult shop, and I grew that adult shop on social media. I was really good at the marketing. I was in all these social media pages that were like local areas. It was the adult shop in Ellenbrook. A lot of people know me for that. I was on Snapchat heavily back then, like
doing crazy shit.
Naked girls, adult toys everywhere, suction cup dildos, throwing them at the wall. Had a lot of hate, a lot of love, a lot of like, fuck yeah. But a lot of people would say, Beau does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't care about fear of judgment, but it was actually the opposite.
I know.
I actually heavily cared what people think about me, and I threw myself in these situations.
And I've always found that so crazy because you have.
Because why'd I write cunt in the grass?
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
100%.
I wanted the villain style attention, exactly like Jake Paul said.
But then hated it and had anxiety, had extreme anxiety. Yeah. And it's crazy for me because for me, like I'll do anything to not put myself in situations so I don't get anxiety. You're literally place yourself in the fucking center of
and then I still up until recently I've encountered things where you're like, you could have completely fucking avoided that.
And I'm a preventer. This is the difference between you and me.
Yeah, you're a preventer. I'm like, I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, we're in the shit right now.
And now I'm like, okay, Beau, you gotta learn some lessons.
And I'm like, I'm fucking sick of learning your lessons with you.
There's some pros and cons in business to the way I throw myself out 100%. There. Definitely. I've got videos now with 90 million views with a lot of hate on there and shit like that, which is kind of my life.
And a lot of love.
Oh, of course.
A lot of hate and love,
Definitely. So and like I said, I was going into, Jake Paul said not long ago, he's like, I was the villain, so I just played the villain. I was good at being the villain. I wanted the world to hate me and my views grew. Even though like you go on a Jake Paul and Logan Paul's page right now, it's like fucking idiots, fucking die.
I know, it's crazy.
Like the hate is insane, and I'm like, you don't even know these people.
To be like honest, like, I have gone through some shit with myself and things that have happened even in our business, and I'll go on their page just to be like, hey, I want to feel a little bit better about like what I'm going through right now, so I'm going to go on their page and be like, okay, cool, we're all on the same fucking killer fish,
and you're only human beings, and TikTok and that is
they're humans. Like for me, I'm like, it's crazy that other humans can go on a page of people that they don't know. Like these people are like sons, they might be dads. Well, like it's just crazy for me.
Jake Paul said as well not long ago, he's like, like they're successful, they're doing amazing things. They're still human. They still go through things. Like you watch their
human beings. Like
you watch their documentary. They've fucking been through some shit.
People like social media just sensitizes and gives people like a right to fucking text and comment on stuff. And I'm like, bro, how do you do this?
It's really opened me up to when people come to me, because those people are actually unhappy, and usually those people are doing nothing with their lives as well. They're not successful people.
Success. I say it all the time. Successful, happy people are not bringing other people down.
Well,
they are too busy doing their own thing and connecting one and bring people to the top.
There's no musician out there that is selling platinum records that is giving someone shit for trying to play guitar. There's no race car driver that's the top of their field, Formula One, who's giving a young kid a hard time for trying to get into racing.
100%.
So it's always those people that are doing nothing. And we are going to do a podcast on going viral and how we grew our social media, which a lot of people ask us. But yeah, back to where were we?
Just talking about you and your life and sex shops and
so in the sex shop,
relationship.
I got to a point where I was on and off in this toxic relationship, and I wanted it to work. I did. Like we were on and off now at the end, or months on, months off. We got back together after she was pregnant. I took on the child like as my own, I think as a way to really get her stuck with me, because I was narcissistic, I was toxic, I was angry, I was jealous, I was fucking so insecure.
But can we just say one thing on that you were an amazing stepdad to that child.
Of course. And
you
she
know,
knows that.
And for me, like, you know, I was friends with Beau for 7 years, you know, and I used to look at your Snapchats and your social media and be like, wow, like how amazing, like the things you were doing for that little boy.
Well,
And
that's the reason why I'm such a good dad now.
You are an amazing, you're such a good dad because you're an amazing.
I think I've always just needed a little me to love.
100%, because at that time you didn't love yourself.
My ex would never bag any of that stuff out. Yes, the ADHD symptoms, the anger, the toxicity.
Not knowing who you were, really.
But
Jealous,
things did.
insecure.
I'm not going to bag anyone out in this. I did wrong, and she wasn't perfect and whatever. But we've grown a lot since then, and I'm happily open speak about that. But you know, you got to move through and look back at things. If I never went through that relationship with her, I would not be who I am now. And I can remember being, and a lot of people are going to resonate with this. I remember being like freshly broken up or fighting with her or whatever, and being in a you know, you go out to a pub and you feel sick when you see someone who looks like her, or someone says her name and your gut drops and your heart races, your whole night's ruined, or she texts you some shit she's found out about you, or wants to fight, or you know, wants you back, or sends you a photo of the kid or the dogs or whatever, and you got these mixed feelings. And like I said, in our online program, we work with so many people going through divorces. I'm talking like 30-40 year divorces, not 2 years, not 6 years. But you know, and it's all about getting back on your feet, and it's hard. It's one of the hardest. Well, I reckon it was one of the biggest challenges I went through, was going through a breakup, a really toxic breakup at that. Makes it worse. And there's so much love and hate, you know, and the one thing that really got me through that was journaling my thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I was still writing in that when I first got together with you, and I truly believe, and that's why I say, like, you know, there was so much anger and hate in me. Like I wanted to hurt people, and I like the old me is fucking hates the world and wants to do destructive things. But, you know, when I wrote all that down on paper, I felt like it left me. Mm-hmm. And I wrote this whole thing and I'd edit it. And like some of it would be about me, like I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that, writing down all my shit. And this is way before I got into breathwork or like mindfulness. And no one had taught me this either. It's just what I thought I needed. And now I get someone coming to me with the same shit. I'm like, bro, I've been there. I said, before you kill anyone, before you kill yourself, before you fucking do something stupid and something you don't mean, then you're going to feel guilt and shame and feel like the world hates you. Write it all down, man. And sit with it, you know. And like, it's so crazy writing all that down, like how different the days would change. So you wake up hating your ex. You're like, fuck you. You fucking did this. You did that. And you want to like blame. Then the next day you're like, I'm sorry. You know, I wasn't perfect. Like I want to make it right. I love you.
7 stages.
Yeah, it's insane. And like, you just got to let all those emotions ride and feel them. Feel the hate, feel the hurt, feel the forgiveness.
And that's why it's also really good to journal this, because, you know, instead of like lashing lashing out and sending a text message like, fuck you, blah, blah, I always say like that emotion is going to pass.
I used to do it. I used to put change. Caps lock on and message.
I've been hit with as a friend. As a friend, I used to get this stuff, and I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, who do you think you are talking like that? You know,
man, the entitlement, right? So it was just emotions. It was anger. So then moving through, you know, we've got this child and this that I loved, and she knew that we had a great relationship, and she had to make a decision to cut us completely off, which happened. And I was working away FIFO. No, I wasn't. Then I was, sorry. Mm-hmm. But the adult shop was before that. So in between that, you know, got this toxic on and off relationship for roughly 9 years. I left the adult shop really because I was sick about being around the sex. I wanted actual connection. I started jumping on Tinder and I wanted to go for actual dates. I wanted a friend. I wanted a chick where I could take out and laugh and pay for a meal, which I'd never really done. Mm-hmm. It was all about just sex for me, right? You know, leaving the adult shop and all of that sort of stuff, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And me and my friend had a bit of a fight that was in the adult shop with, and I was like, you know, I was doing 12-hour days there and I loved it. Like, it gave me freedom and, you know, it was really cool. But I wanted to work away on the mines. Like, that was the end game for me. So I went away working on the mines, and then me and the ex had completely split. I didn't sleep for like weeks. I didn't eat the anxiety was just so crazy. Like, and you don't realize, it's so crazy how the body doesn't know what it like goes through the nerve. It listens to the nervous system, the emotion, rather than like you could have 10 friends sit you down and go, this is what you need to do. And what about this, and this? And your emotions will tell you a different thing. Nah, fucking this and that. And how many times have you had a conversation with like people in your family or someone who's in a situation where it's like, you need to get away from this, or you need to leave that job, man. Your boss is shit to you, or you need to fucking get in your car. It keeps breaking down, but their emotion just stays in this toxicity because, and what we always say in our events is that people would rather sit in the comfortability of hell than uncomfortable heaven.
100%.
And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I get it.
It means that you would rather sit in something that you're used to, even though it fucking sucks. The job sucks, the money's shit, the relationship's shit, it's fucking toxic. You'd rather sit in that because it's comfortable to you. It's what you know, especially like DV as well, right? You see a lot of these women that their parents are in DV and they go into DV because that's comfortable to them.
100%.
It's what they're used to. And you find yourself, you don't want it, but you stay there. And then until you get out, and I remember writing a song. I wrote music, I skipped that part, but I this is going to be very like this podcast. But I used to write music, and I was signed to a studio and stuff when I was younger. So I wrote a song once saying, everyone says you don't know what you've got till it's gone. I say you don't know how stuck you are until you're undone. And it's so true. Once you get out of something and you look back, and I look back at my thing and I go, why do we put ourselves through nearly 9 years of this shit?
100%.
I know I was controlling, I know I was narcissistic, I know I forced a lot, but why did I do that to myself? Which brings me into my next part of this. Moving away from all of that and creating the life that I have now with you. And we're not perfect, and we've got our shit, which we will talk about on this podcast. But for me, I wanted to be better because I met you and you gave me unconditional love, which I appreciate and I'm so grateful for. So thank you. But for me, I'm like, I found a woman, and like when my ADHD symptoms come out, I used ADHD as a cop out my whole life. Oh, well, I've got ADHD. Well, I got this. I can't control my behavior.
You couldn't do that shit with me.
No, but I got told my whole life I couldn't control my behavior. I remember doctors saying, I remember my mum saying, he can't control his behavior, he needs medication. Okay. So deep down in my unconscious mind, I believe that I'm not in control.
Yeah.
Which is still I'm working on now with certain things that happen.
So then if we go back to the original question, like, who are you? Like, do you think, like, who is Beau?
I'm telling my story.
Like, who are you?
Who am I now?
Yeah, like, who do you think you are?
Breathwork guru. And I told you I'm still working that out. And it's constantly me trying to work out who I am away now from breathwork. Who am I away from, when I...
Being a partner.
Being a partner, being a dad, and I do have a lot of imposter syndrome. I remember standing on stage in front of hundreds of people and people are like, oh, you're this person. I'm like, I don't feel like that. Like our friend and business coach, Tim always says, like, when he got into the gym and he started being a PT, people are like, hey, there's my personal trainer. And he's like, oh, nah.
Yeah.
Or when you become a boss and someone goes, hey, is it my boss? And it feels icky.
I don't like when people think that I'm a coach, like I more want to be like a mentor or inspirational person because I feel like we are our own coaches. Yeah. We just guiding paths. We just guide, impact leaders. Leaders. Like I just want to impact your life. That's my ultimate goal.
I'm just me. Like I think who I am will constantly change and I don't like to word it. Like I'm not a breath worker. I'm not a bricklayer. I'm not a parent. I'm not a gardener. I'm not a cleaner. Like
you're just Beau doing both things.
And when we do meditation, we say, let go of your sex, let go of your name, let go of what fucking, your career title. Like, who are you behind all of that? Like, what lights you up? What makes you happy? What are you passionate about? So, so went through that relationship, got with you, and then I wanted to do better. So for me, I wanted to show up for you. And I wanted to be the ultimate partner, and I worked through a lot of stuff. But you said to me one time I had a big tantrum and some ADHD symptoms, and you looked me in the eyes and you said, "This isn't directed at me." And I was really confused. I was like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "This is directed at your ex or your mum or something deeper than me." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck you, whatever." And I walked off. And then I'm like, she's right. She didn't deserve that. She's done nothing but love me. She's done nothing but show up for me. Why am I like this? So I went back and I said, all right, I need help. I knew it. I knew I needed help. I didn't know what that looked like. And I'm like, I just need something. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll book a psychologist appointment. They'll fix me. So booked that, went, trauma dumped and overshared for probably about an hour. And then next day got an email saying, hey, we're not the right fit for you. You can't come back here. You have to find someone else. So for me, I was sitting across from like an older lady who I wouldn't resonate with at all, who probably, you know, if we met in the street, would have nothing in common at all or any sort of rigid conversation. And I was like, okay, fuck, I laughed it off. Trauma response, right? The fucking psychologist couldn't handle me.
Yeah.
I'm way too much. Couldn't handle me. And then I'm
And
like,
you just start laughing. And I said to you, I sat beside you and I said, and how does it actually make you feel?
it hurt. I felt like I was unfixable. I felt like no one understood me, which is I've always felt, especially with ADHD. I wasn't understood. And, you know, I felt like, here we go again. Just, you know, I tried psychology for the first time as an adult and got rejected, right? And then the abandonment issues come up and it's just like, oh, well, fuck it. And then my mates were doing breath work and I was like, fuck, well, I'll go do breath work. You know, I thought it was cool. The guys were tatted up and like, you know, I was like, whatever, let's do this. And then I went to breathwork and that was just like a peak pivotal moment in my life. Learning to just breathe and then feeling so still and comfortable.
Well, I remember the day you came home.
Oh, feeling the anxiety leave the body straight away. I was like, what the fuck? And then, so for me doing breakthrough breathwork, where a lot of people see our videos of people crying and screaming and all that sort of stuff, we did that and I was fucking crying and all this shit's coming up and we sat up and we journaled. And I actually went there, probably didn't tell you this at the time, but I went to that session to forgive my ex for hurting me, for fucking making my life miserable, for this and that and that. And I got out of there and wrote down, I forgive myself. This has got nothing to do with her at all. 100%. It's all my own shit. And I took accountability and responsibility for my life and my actions. And therefore, I think like I let go of ADHD. I let go of all this like outside shit controlling me, other people, like this person cut me off in the car, like they're a piece of shit. They ruined my day.
Yeah.
The light went red. I was late because of the red light, like that constant blaming the world, right? No control of your life.